Good evening and welcome to the May 2nd, 2018 legislative session of the Town Board. And I'll ask everyone to please rise. Tonight we've got Thomas and Kate Moore who are going to lead us in the pledge. And whenever you're ready, please start us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Kate. You didn't expect to get put to work when you came here today, did you? All right, very good. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler. Here. Moore.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
We're going to start off with communications and announcements, and I'm going to actually kick it off. I'm going to recognize Ed Lindskog. And Ed, if you would join us at the podium, and the floor is yours, sir. Anybody in the front row that doesn't behave.
I'd like the supervisor to step to the podium, please.
Right.
Tony is your attorney.
There's no security here, Tony.
Use that weapon.
This is from 1991 ice storm, and it was made by Dick Adamus, and it was signed by members of the Trails Committee.
No kidding.
And we wanted to present this to you as from the Trails Committee on behalf of all the work you're doing for trails in the town.
Wow, very nice. Thank you very much, Ed. This is wonderful. So we'll get it. Maybe I'll put it right here for our camera, so that they
Now
can
you
get.
have to speak softly.
That's right. Big, stick, and speak softly. So this Ed, we'll have to find an appropriate place for this here in the town hall. A little bit of history on that, on that ice storm. And I can remember working very closely with Don Mack at the time. He was the then supervisor, and I know that we were out early in the morning moving trees off in 5 Mile Line Road, trying to open up things for emergency vehicles and things like this. So this is amazing, and Dick is a pretty handy guy, and so we'll make sure that we'll get a little plaque and display this prominently, and I'm glad to see that all the members signed it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. We'll put it right here. Amy, behave yourself.
Okay. Everybody else should too.
We will continue on with our communications and announcements, and I'll recognize our town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The mobile DMV for Tuesday, May 22nd is canceled due to assessment grievance day for the town of Penfield. The service will resume on Tuesday, May 29th. And for a complete list of mobile DMV locations throughout the week, visit monroecounty.gov, or you can call the Penfield Town Clerk's office at 340-8629.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. As a safety reminder, it is important to call 811 before you dig anywhere in your yard. 811 coordinates with local utility companies to locate all underground lines on your property. Utility lines are damaged once every 6 minutes nationwide because someone decided to dig in their yard without knowing what was underground, which often leads to service disruptions, serious injuries, and costly repairs. Residents and business owners should call 2 days before they plan to dig. To schedule an appointment, call 811 or go to digsafelynewyork.com/homeowners. Thank you.
Mrs. Whistler.
I have 2 announcements this evening for residents that are finally getting a chance to do some spring cleaning. A reminder that brush drop-off is available year-round, Monday through Friday, at the town's Department of Public Works complex at 1607 Jackson Road. Brush that is brought to the town is recycled into a mulch pile for residential use. This pile was located on the Town Hall campus along Columbus Crossing. The mulch is free to residents, and in addition to brush, the town's annual spring drop-off event will be held on Friday, May 18th and Saturday, May 19th for the disposal of household items. A listing of what will and will not be accepted at this event is available on the town's website. Additional services provided by our Public Works Department are also listed on the website. Also, on Saturday, May 19th, the town of Penfield is proud to announce that you can join our Penfield community in helping out your neighbors in the annual Terry Rothfuss Memorial Good Neighbor Day. This is a town event where volunteers reach out to seniors, veterans, or those who are disabled to help do light yard work and some spring cleaning for them. Good Neighbor Day will begin at the Rothfuss Farm at 1865 Salt Road for participants to receive their assignments. To register for this event, or if you are someone who could use an extra hand this spring or know someone who could use an extra hand, call the town, Sabrina Renner at Penfield Recreation at 340-8651, or email srenner@penfield.org. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. I have one announcement. You've probably seen some activity at the intersection of Whalen and Route 250. That's a project by New York State Department of Transportation, something that we've had on the books now for a couple of years. They have finally started that. They're putting in new pedestrian indicators. They are making modifications to the sidewalks at each one of the intersections. I'll be handicap accessible. They'll tie into the sidewalk system that we have there currently, and then some future sidewalks that will be extended here over the next couple of years. So that work should last through about a month or less, depending upon weather, and we look forward to those indicators being turned on here over the next 2 to 4 weeks. So, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. On Saturday, May 12th, the Penfield Trails Committee will host a free guided hike at Harris Whalen Park beginning at 9 a.m. Fellow hikers will follow the trails on the northern end of the park and discover exciting spring flowers while learning about the park's history and geology. Harris Whalen Park is located off Route 441, just west of Route 250, across from Wegmans Plaza. The hike will start at the pavilion at the top of Harris Hill. Participants are asked to pre-register by calling Penfield Recreation at 340-8655, extension 6. Also on Monday, May 28th, the town of Penfield will hold its annual Memorial Day ceremony within Veterans Memorial Park at the Penfield Amphitheater. Beginning at about 10:30 a.m., the ceremony of remembrance will include a presentation of roses, a featured guest speaker, and winners of the town's annual essay contest. Individuals may reserve a rose in honor of a military member who was killed in action or is currently serving or is a veteran of our nation's armed forces. If you wish to reserve a rose, please call Sabrina at Penfield Recreation at 340-8651. For details regarding this event, you can go to penfieldrec.org. Thank you.
Mrs. Cole.
I only have one announcement. My next community chat will be Tuesday, May 15th, from 5:30 to 7 in the New Book area at the Penfield Library.
Great. Thank you. All right, we will move on to public participation. There are 2 opportunities to address the board on any matter at this time, and again at the end of the agenda. You can do that one of 3 ways. You can, if you're here in the auditorium, you can address the board. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org and submit some materials that we'll get right here at the printer. So with that, Amy, if you would start with our first.
Sarah Timmerman.
Sarah, welcome.
Sarah. I live on Lazy Trail, and the big windstorm about like a month ago or something, with all the power got knocked out, the telephone pole in my backyard, a bunch of the wires got pulled off it, but they're still kind of hanging on it, and they haven't been removed, and they go across our backyard and the backyard of a person next to us to a telephone pole where they had to replace it, but the lines are still there, and I don't know if this is something that you guys would handle, but it just seems like it's gone on a while of down wires, and they're not active anymore, obviously, but it still just doesn't feel really safe that there's wires down.
So we typically don't, but we can help. So what I can do you know if they happen to be, they must be telephone wires, is what I'm guessing, or?
I think so, but there's so many different.
Yeah, not a problem. What, if you don't mind, you don't have to give your exact address. If you would just give it to the clerk, the number. What I'll do is I'll reach out to our friends either at Spectrum or Frontier. Probably is not RG&E, but we'll start with Spectrum and Frontier first.
Yeah, I don't think it's RG&E because they've
Yeah.
been through the yard a lot.
Yeah, okay. And then, so if we have the number of that location, and again, like, you don't have to give us the number, but if you give that to the clerk, what we'll do is we'll call that in and have them take a look at that, so.
right.
All right? Absolutely, and thank you for that. It goes across 2 properties?
It goes, yeah, it's in our backyard, and it goes like one to the next between 2 poles.
Okay, all right, great. Yeah, if you just put your number right there, our clerk will get me that first thing in the morning. We'll make a phone call, and we'll see if we can get them out to take care of that. If they work as fast as they do, removing extra poles should be taken care of in the next couple years. No, we'll try to make that happen for you. So, all right, thank you.
Kate
All right.
McArdle?
Hi there, Kate
Kate.
McArdle, 15 Hillside Road, Penfield, New York. So I had a list of questions, but now I have more from listening, so just a couple quick ones. Assessment grievance day, I can assume that that is a day for residents to come in and grieve about their assessments. Could someone address that? Is that something that's promoted? I'm sorry if I haven't heard anything about that. Is it one day a year?
1 day a year.
1 day a year?
Yeah,
And
so-
the date again?
It's the 22nd.
Okay.
It's the
And-
fourth Tuesday of May
Okay.
every year.
Every year?
Every
Okay.
year.
And regular work hours, 9 to?
Typically, they'll start about 9 o'clock and they'll go as long as they need to go.
Okay, great.
And so what I would encourage, if you have a question about your assessor, you don't have to wait, or about your assessment, you don't have to wait for that. A lot of residents will come in between now and then, sit down with the assessor, go through things, and then the assessment review board, that's kind of that's that last step. If you cannot either understand, work through something, then that's the kind of the court of last resort.
So I'm assuming all that's on the website.
All that's on the
Apologies.
all
But there's
that's
an
on the
email, who they would email is on there, and who they would schedule that appointment with is online as well?
Yes.
Okay,
You
thank
have to, you have to make an appointment
Yep.
And
Yep.
get all that done ahead of time.
Great,
Yep,
thank you very
absolutely.
much. For the May 18th and 19th disposal day cleanup, spring cleanup that happens every year, I noticed the last couple of years, electronics recycling hasn't been included in that. Is the town doing any electronics pickup any longer?
We are not, Kate. It's gotten to be a case that the market has fluctuated so much. It went from one time, it cost you to drop it off, then it was free, and now they're back to charging again. Typically, there are 1 or 2 events that take place in and around the town. Whenever we become aware of those, we put them on the website. I'll include
That
it in my
other
call.
companies will host?
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
yes, and so sometimes it's some of our state representatives that do it. Sometimes if an organization is looking to raise money, Camp Good Days, for instance,
Right.
they will do
Right.
it. But the town, at this time, the town is not planning one.
So residents can go to Eco Park if they have electronics?
And we're encouraging folks to go to
Right.
Eco Park. That is
Okay.
correct.
We have in the past hosted on behalf of, for charities.
Yeah,
If they
yeah.
come, we certainly are, open to them asking
Hosting.
to.
So if charities in Penfield want to do something like that, the town would be open to organizing something or supporting them to do so?
It's really providing the area.
Right.
To do it.
Great. Terrific, thank you. One more question on that is pharmaceuticals. I know this is an issue statewide that, the safe disposal of pharmaceuticals, the state is working on that. Is that that's not part of the spring cleanup at all?
It
Is the
is
town doing
not.
anything with pharmaceutical
Typically, what happens is once a year, Wegmans does host one at 441, and at any time, normal business hours, you can go to Zone A, and you can drop it off. You can go into their vestibule. They've got a box there, and you can drop that off.
That may be helpful information to put on the town website, because it says, it doesn't say that you don't accept it or that you do accept it. So with people looking to kind of get rid of that spring cleanup, and bathrooms hopefully are part of that.
And of course, Eco Park as well.
Yeah, of course.
And as far as pharmaceuticals with the sheriff's department, they certainly, after hours as well, I know that I have heard and have heard the officers encourage people, you can call 911 and have an officer go to the zone. The 911 will dispatch an officer to the zone to take those pharmaceuticals as well.
You're encouraging residents to call 911 to do that?
If the sheriff's office will take a call from 911, say it's the evening. Non-emergency.
Non-emergency, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
not.
I hear
out
911 and I'm like, what?
No, but it's
cleaning out your cabinet is not a. Yeah, I understand that.
It's 911 is used for a lot more nowadays than just that. So they will dispatch an officer to go to the zone to meet someone there.
Do you know if the local sheriff here has a drop-off spot? Because I know some of the offices now are having locked boxes for drop-off.
So
I don't think we do.
So Zone A, which is right off in Panorama Trail.
Yep.
In their new facility. They have a vestibule that you can go in during normal business hours.
Okay.
So that's
good to know.
8:30 to about 4:30 timeframe.
Okay.
And anyone can stop by and drop it off in the box, because typically they have staff there, and you can do it.
Yeah, that would be great information, just to even you put a link on your page where you have the cleanup, just so people know.
Because Zone A is our sheriff's substation for Penfield, Perrington, and Pittsford. And as far as after hours, what happens, I'm told, by the sheriffs is people think that they don't have access, they don't have a sheriff sitting there all the time. So they come up and there's obviously an instruction you can call 911, they can dispatch someone to swing by.
Great, thank you. A couple other questions. I'm representing Christina, who had been here talking about pesticides a couple months ago. I know you met with her, Tony, and some folks from the Empire State Consumer Project on March 28th. So I just wanted to follow up on, I know the town had pledged to reduce the use of and eliminate the use of pesticides here in the town, and you had met about the opportunity to possibly partner on the Beyond Pesticides project. So I just wanted to find out about progress on that.
So what I can say is that I know Eric Tator is our Director of Public Works, and Tim Masterton have made some initial contacts on that.
Okay.
So I can't tell you anything more on that this evening, but I can find out where they are with that.
Great,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask about the carbon fee and dividend policy, but I see somebody else is here that will talk about that, so I'll stop talking on that one. So to the whole board, I know I've talked to Tony a little bit about this, but I wanted to address the town board on what they've been doing, or if they've been doing any research in excuse me, community choice aggregation, if you've heard of CCA in other communities. I know I've talked to Tony a little bit about it. Have any of the other town board members been looking into the bulk buying of energy and what other towns are doing locally?
I think I don't speak for the board, but I think the number of the members of the board have asked me to be that point person for them.
All right, so-
and then to keep them posted on that.
Great.
Well, certainly the Energy and Environmental Advisory Committee is some group
Yep.
that we
Yep,
Great.
exactly.
Yeah, so I attended the meeting on March 28th, the Energy and Environment Committee, and brought up, CCA came up. And I was disappointed that there wasn't more conversation at that meeting about it. On February 7th, there was a meeting that was hosted here at Town Hall, which was very exciting. In my day job, I work for the New York State Pollution Prevention Institute, so I heard that there was a regional meeting happening here in Penfield, and I could attend as a representative of my organization to learn more about what's happening in communities. So for those that don't know, CCA is basically allows local governments to source energy on behalf of its residents by procuring energy from a competitive energy supplier. So the goal of aggregating buying or like bulk buying power to expand choice and value via green energy. Usually it's a green energy supplier. So right now, I think it's 5 municipalities in the Finger Lakes have passed a resolution for a CCA local law. And at that meeting on February 7th, that was held here at the town hall, the Genesee and Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council was there presenting information about that, and they were able to bring a representative up from Westchester County, from one of the contractors. Jewel Assets came up, and also the local educator on CCA, who is the RPCC locally. They were all able to attend the meeting, and some representatives from local municipalities, so some supervisors from other towns were able to be here and learn more about, again, the challenges, but also the benefits of this kind of bulk buying purchasing. So I know I had talked to you about it. Tony at the Energy and Environment Committee just asked a quick question about it, so I just wanted to follow up to see if any work had been done, and then I can request a meeting to maybe share some more information with you
Sure.
at some point.
Yep, not a problem. So we have not done anything more since our EEAC meeting on that at this time, Kate, so more to follow.
Okay. So I had some questions also about, we talked about the Energy and Environment Committee, and I've been learning a little bit about the Conservation Board, and I just had some questions, and I don't know, it may not be for this group, but I want to understand a little bit more about the role of the Conservation Board and the role of the Energy and Environment Committee. I think I understand, but I would like some clarification. I looked up the state guidelines for what a CAC or CAB is, so Conservation Advisory Board, Conservation Advisory Council. They're called, I guess, different names, different communities across the state, and saw this as, if you don't mind me taking a little bit more time, this as the definition. The CAB or CAC advise local governing boards, planning boards, and zoning boards of appeals on matters related to the environment. CACs and CABs develop townwide inventories of natural resources and open space, conduct research, review development proposals, conduct site visits, deliver education programs, implement stewardship projects, and gather and distribute information to other town agencies, land use applicants, and the general public. By providing science-based input to land proposals, ordinances, and town plans, CACs and CABs can help communities address environmental issues in municipal planning. So that's the statewide definition. So on the town board website, the Conservation Board is on there. The 9-member board is all on there. You can get their contact information. And it says the Conservation Board is a 9-member body whose primary function is to examine applications for environmental review and issue advisory reports to the lead agency, in parentheses, Town Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Planning Board, of its findings. So that's the role of the Conservation Board, which is to advise those bodies, Town Board, Zoning, and Planning. And then the Energy Environment Committee, the purpose of the advisory committee is to build on the work of the town that the town has done to lower its energy consumption and costs to taxpayers, and to promote responsible stewardship of the environment by the town and its residents. Areas of focus include public education and awareness, environmental stewardship, reduced energy consumption, use of natural landscapes and gardens, and recycling. The committees consist of residents who have interest and expertise in these areas and appropriate town staff. Current resident members are, and there's 3 listed there, Sinette, Bob, and Matt. Is that accurate and up to date? Both of those for the town board, those 2 statements or those 2 descriptions are accurate?
Essentially.
Okay.
I can speak for the Conservation Board as I'm
Yeah,
liaison. I don't know if
that's
you've ever
right.
attended any of the
Yeah.
meetings or their events.
I've watched them
They do
online,
much
but I don't-
more.
yeah.
They do much more than that.
That's- yeah.
I think the focus or the summary there is saying their primary role.
Yep.
They're a tremendous group of people, and they will, in general, for us, the primary focus as advisory is they're advising the town with respect to applications. They walk site visits, usually in pairs of 2, sometimes more, depending upon the application. But again, they're advisory, so they don't have a specific charge to make a determination with respect to town law or like a ZBA would or the planning board would. But they certainly are very important, just as our Historic Preservation Board is as well, as advising. They do events, they do education, they go to education seminars themselves, they do webinars, we do site visits. There's just a lot more that they do. They certainly are connected with the county. The county has a lot of events and a lot of learning opportunities for local boards that they take advantage of as well. So you'll see on the agenda primarily will be action items regarding particular projects. And those are, I try to direct people to those when they're asking whether environmental concerns have been raised or explored. We've got a whole team who does that in their volunteer residence.
Okay. Thank you for the expansion there. Not having a lot of time, I can't watch all of the videos and can't be here for the Conservation Board. A lot of the Conservation Board meetings I would certainly like to attend. The meeting minutes, the agendas have been posted, but the meeting minutes haven't been posted for about a year or more on the website. Is that something that could be posted onto the Conservation Board?
It could, although I will tell you that the minutes generally, the meat of what's done are the reports that they issue for the different projects, and those are often.
And those are not public?
They would be found online under the projects usually, but I'm not sure. It depends on the project, but so that's really what they, the bulk of their discussion is reports based upon that.
Okay. And then you talked about the county. You mentioned some events and education that they're doing.
Soil, water conservation, things like that. Cornell Cooperative Extension also, they touch upon that.
Okay. So their role, they should have one representative that sits on the County Environmental Management Council that started back up again a year ago. Do you know who the representative from the Conservation Board is that's going to those meetings?
I want to say it's Matt Piston. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe, it used to be Noel Schlageter for a number of... And it's, I think it's Paul Sugnett that this board actually designated here.
Yeah, I think it's like a yearly designation, right?
It used to be Matt, yeah.
It is, or it's actually a couple of year. So
is it?
I believe it is. And Noel Schlageter was our representative for many, many years, and he stepped down.
Okay.
And Paul Sugnett was part of our Conservation Board. He had to step down a number of years ago. He came back due to retirement, and he came back, and he was very involved with the county on that.
Okay. So I know that the Energy and Environment Committee was formed in 2010. I'm sure, Tony, as a result of so many environmental issues going on and the need to get out in the community more and doing those events that you're...
It was one of Tony's primary objectives when he took office.
So that committee is appointed by you, correct?
That committee is appointed by this board.
Oh, by the town board.
Appointed by the town. Every committee, board, the appointment is by the town board.
Okay. Do you get regular applications for that board?
We from time to time, we do get applications for that. Christina is the most recent one that has asked to be considered for that board.
Okay. And what does the process for review look like for getting onto a board like that?
This board
meets on it, or?
Yeah, this board will chat about it. Typically, we would go through, vet it out, and then if we thought there was a fit, then there would be a town board resolution that would appoint her.
Okay. What are the specific qualifications you're looking for on that board, Tony?
So essentially, for that particular board, someone that has an interest in the whole recycling, upcycling, ways to conserve energy, someone that wants to get more involved with the community to help us with our mission of lowering costs, looking for alternative means of energy sources, education, and things like that.
Okay. I think it's real important also, too, on any board, at least what I consider, I can't speak for the board, is not having people with personal agendas come in, because it really can offset the synergy.
You need somebody that wants to work with the
I can speak for the Conservation Board. People who aren't looking for recognition for what they do.
Yeah.
Conservation Board, often people haven't heard of because they don't,
So you want
they
someone
do their
that's
job.
quiet?
They do their job, they know they do their job. and
Don't put words in our
Well,
mouth, Kate.
you're right. I'm putting words in her mouth, so I'm sorry, Paula. I do think that it's important to bring items up as they arise, and I frame that wrong.
And they do, and I think the Conservation Board, especially, I'm certainly very proud to be liaison to all the boards that I sit on, and they very quietly do a great job.
Paula, the team, the 9-person board that's been on the CAB for, you see some new folks coming in, and then they're able to train obviously they can learn from one another.
What they do is they often, the biggest training is really out in the field.
Yeah.
So they'll pair up. And often, too, we'll have applications that kind of come back in a different form. Either a different developer or a different, project is being proposed. Often for consistency, the same people
Yeah.
will investigate and report on that just for consistency because they've got the history
Yeah.
of that. For instance, the Vision Dodge is a good example that came back a few times, and the Conservation Board had a team that was out there, and they had good familiarity with it. You don't want if someone has familiarity, it's certainly
Right.
important to continue that.
So sorry, and I'll wrap this up, but so you're looking for that board, you're looking for somebody, not necessarily, don't have to come to the table with that skill set, but have the ability to learn those skills, do the walking, do the review.
Be
of
objective.
those.
I think they're real good at balancing the interests of those involved.
Yeah.
And that includes environmental interests, but includes also interests of the developer, the applicant, balancing that in their role. It's a difficult line to walk.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know all of the people on the board, but the people that I do know, I know have a good balance of that environmental background and are aware of conservation issues. So I wasn't trying to say that they are not qualified or that they don't have that. The question is where, and why I framed it that way, is understanding when you have the framework, which is very large for what the state defines a CAB to be, and then you see online what the and I know it's just online, but it's not clear what the distinction is. So I think it's important for community members to understand what the distinction is, and recognizing then, Tony, for you, because a lot of the outreach, education to community, and new programming, because the CAB has so much on their plate, that new programming, new ideas like CCA, I have to say, as a community resident that works in the environmental field, when I show up to a meeting and I don't see any of my elected officials at a public meeting that was well attended and well publicized, I was disappointed. And so that disappoints me as a resident, as a voting member, and someone that's passionate about this field. I'd like to see my elected official there. And I also would like to see my elected official, when I go to the meeting to ask specifically about it, to follow up without me having to hound. And I know, Tony, you're very busy, but this is an issue.
You're making an assumption that I haven't been to a previous one.
Well, I would like that information then. If I ask you about it, and I asked you in that meeting, and I asked you again tonight, that's the time to tell me that you've been to a meeting about it. I'm asking you.
We actually had them do a presentation at an EAC
Great.
meeting last year.
Terrific. I would love to hear what you drew from that, and we don't have to spend the time publicly now, but I would like to know how that information was taken, what information you've given, because the members that were at the Energy Environment Committee asked specifically what CCA was, meaning that information was not relied to your Energy Environment Committee. And that is not responsible governance. Like, they didn't know. The people in the room, Bob Knauer, Sinette, they did not know what CCA was. So I want them to know. And again, you are the governing body. You make the decisions on whether this is a good fit for Penfield, but we need to educate our residents about this. This is an opportunity. This is a financial opportunity, and we're missing out. So that's what it's about, Tony. And I appreciate your time. I know it's taken a lot of it. Thank you, Paula, and the rest of the town board.
Thanks, Kate. Anyone else?
I don't have anyone.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to, yes? Alan, come right forward.
Good evening. My name is Al Hibner, and I live at 85 High Ledge Drive in Penfield. I'm a volunteer and the co-lead of lobbying for the Rochester chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm going to be very short. I just have a quick question and maybe a short comment. First, I want to say heartfelt thanks to the board for completing the purchase of Shadow Pines this week, as was announced on Monday. So thank you for that. Future generations, thank you. My grandchildren, thank you. Very much appreciate your vision in securing that unique community resource. Thank you. As you know, I had the great pleasure of addressing the board on December 13th. I won't go into all the details. That was videotaped and is up on the website on December 13th, the working session of the board. And I addressed you about the carbon fee and dividend policy that Citizens Climate Lobby is putting forth to the members of Congress. And we asked you in subsequent meetings with the Environmental and Energy Committee to draft, approve, and sign a letter of endorsement on that policy. And I know that that has been underway. It's also been on hold for several meetings, and I think my main question tonight is, if I may ask you, Supervisor LaFountain, when this agenda item will be scheduled at an upcoming meeting, and hopefully within the month of May, and I'll state why.
Tell you why, and I think I know why. But yes, I think we have looked at a number of different drafts. I think we're at a point that letter can be finalized. We would typically do that at our next work session and have that on the agenda for that. Then what would happen is that we would vote there to sign off on that letter. And I think what we had talked about was signing off not just myself as supervisor, but the entire board. So we will have that as an agenda item at our meeting on the 9th, which is next Wednesday.
Fantastic. And the reason I mentioned the May timeframe is that Citizens Climate Lobby is scheduling right now 500 meetings with members of Congress for June 12th, our lobby day. I will be there personally with 4 other colleagues from our chapter, and the power of being able to present that letter in person from Penfield builds a tremendous amount of political will for our senators, Senator Schumer, Gillibrand. We don't yet have a representative to replace Louise Slaughter, but being able to do that in person, I look forward to doing that, being able to do that on June 12th. And with that, I say thank you.
Great. Thanks, Al. Good to see you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like? Mr. Lindskog.
Excuse me, Ed Lindskog, 40 Willow Pond Way. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I want to answer the lady's question, because I don't know if she knew that I was the liaison to the Conservation Board from the Trails Committee. One of the things that we started with the Trails Committee is identifying invasive species. We're going to do an inventory of the new park up on 250, and I think we'll expand, once we get that park done, we'll expand to other parks. Tried to enlist the Conservation Board to do that, but they said they didn't have the expertise that we did, so we took on the project ourselves. So that's one of the things we're doing now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Thanks for that update. Right. Anyone else like to address the board? Again, there is a second opportunity. Thomas, Kate, you're good to go? All right. Very good. All right. Is there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we do have the April 4th, 2018 minutes before us, and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move that the minutes of April 4th be approved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing no discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler? Aye. Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Next item, petitions. Has the town board, town clerk, or town attorney received any petitions since our last get-together? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolutions by function, and we'll start with law and finance, please.
Approval of issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a nail and skin care spa at 1802 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 250-5 of the Code to allow a nail and skin care spa at 1802 Penfield Road, located in the Four Corners zoning district. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on April 18th, 2018, 7 p.m., to consider the application and hear all persons interested in the question of the issuance of this conditional use permit. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for a conditional use permit to allow a nail and skin care spa at 1802 Penfield Road is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are 6 conditions. All 6 conditions are consistent with what we see in resolutions like this that come before this body pertaining to the Four Corners zoning district. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion board.
I'll just congratulate Amy Albano, who is moving within Penfield, for continuing to want to do business in Penfield, and congratulate her on the expansion of her business.
And that it's located in the little plaza next to Al's Barber Shop and Hunghwa in the Four Corners.
Okay, great. Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Call.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing for the issuance of a special permit to allow a confectionery shop bakery at 2025 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a special use permit pursuant to Chapter 250-5 of the Code to consider allowing a confectionery shop bakery at 2025 Penfield Road in the Four Corners Planning District. Now therefore be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board, the Town of Penfield, shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on June 6th, 2018 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said application and to hear all persons interested in the question of the issuance of the special use permit to allow a confectionery shop bakery at 2025 Penfield Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion board.
Just that this is located in the corner of Sanders Farm and Penfield Road. In the shop property, they have different office spaces in a big building. This is one of the things that would like to go in.
Thank you. Seeing no discussion or further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing for a special permit to allow multiple residential use with accessory garages at Penfield Landmark at 2567 Browncroft Boulevard.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a special permit pursuant to Chapter 250-6 of the Code to allow for the conversion of a two-family residence into a multi-residence or multiple residence with the construction of an accessory garage at the Penfield Landmark at 2567 Browncroft Boulevard, located in the R120 zoning district. Be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on June 6, 2018 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said application and hear all persons interested in the issuance of this special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion.
I'll just mention that this is in the old Foster/Forster property on Browncroft Boulevard. The Historic Preservation Board, of which I am the liaison, has had extensive discussions and back and forth with the Winds regarding this, so you'll probably hear some more information about that. They've been very attentive to various details with respect to the landmark status that I'm sure will be presented in full, and I can supplement that at the hearing as well.
Great. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Approval of an incentive zoning application and final subdivision and site plan approval to allow 14 residences in Phase 6 of the Ebbington Place subdivision on 5.74 acres at 1229 Fairport 9 Mile Point Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas pursuant to Local Law 2 of 2003, known as the Penfield Incentive Zoning Law, on May 4th, 2011, the Town Board granted preliminary overall approval for 99 single-family residents with final approval for 28 residents in Phase 1 of the Abington Place subdivision. Whereas the town board has received an application for final subdivision and site approval for the development of 14 residences in Phase 4 of the Abington subdivision. Whereas the town board of the town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on April 4th, 2018, 7 p.m. on said date to consider the application and hear all persons interested in the question of granting final subdivision and site approval to allow the 14 single-family homes on 5.74 acres. Now therefore be it resolved that the subject application for incentive zoning, final subdivision, and site plan approval for the 14 lots in Phase 4 of the development be and the same are hereby approved, subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are roughly 24 conditions. From my review, these conditions are consistent with past resolutions that we've seen pertaining to this particular application in phases 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I would just let the record show this is the last phase, actually Phase 6, these last 14 14 homes in this development. Further discussion? See no further discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow a fence within a sanitary sewer easement at 1525 Creek Street.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement with Alexander and Devin Fasanella, owners of the property at 1525 Creek Street, to permit a portion of a fence to encroach on a sanitary sewer easement to the town of Penfield located at 1525 Creek Street in a form and substance acceptable to the Penfield town attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Advertising for bids for the purchase and installation of a 60-foot by 100-foot pole barn for the Department of Public Works.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the Town of Penfield Department of Public Works with the following: the purchase and installation of a 60-foot by 100-foot pole barn. Now therefore be it further resolved that the purchase and installation of the pole barn is covered by the proposal shall be in accordance with the specifications prepared by the Director of Public Works. Sealed proposals are to be received in the office of the Town Clerk until May 18th, 2018 at 11 a.m., and there and then to be opened and read publicly by the Town Clerk.
Thank you. Discussion? This particular project is being funded through a grant that came from Senator Funke's office. Senator Funke gave us a grant for a box field at Rothfuss Park and for a pole barn at DPW.
And I would just add, this is a significant grant, and what this will enable our Public Works folks is to safely and store equipment that has been out in the elements for years. And so this is important in terms of the longevity of our equipment and being able to have equipment that's ready to go when necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See no further discussion. I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Quinn.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization to auction surplus equipment on May 12, 2018 at the 33rd Annual Palmyra Government Surplus Equipment Auction.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the Director of Public Works has identified the attached list of equipment as surplus and available for public auction, and whereas the Town Supervisor and the Director of Public Works are granted the authority to amend the attached list prior to the final designation as surplus equipment, now therefore be it resolved that the following list of equipment be declared surplus and that the Director of Public Works is authorized to enter an agreement with Roy Tightsworth to auction the equipment. The equipment includes a dump truck with a plow and wing from year 2000, 18 years old, 2001 Ford F-350 with stake body, 72-inch X-Mark zero-turn mower, and a Doolittle trailer. Be it further resolved that the proceeds resulting from the auction and the sale of this equipment will be credited to the appropriate fund.
Thank you. Discussion? One of the main reasons that we utilize the auction is that we get a better value for the vehicles versus trading them in. And as you can see, we have a couple of vehicles that are 17 and 18 years old. They have either been replaced or soon to be replaced. Typically, there is a lead time of 9 months from actually placing an order to getting a new snowplow in-house. And then another month to get it equipped and ready to roll for the season. So this equipment will in fact go to auction, and the auction will be held, and then we'll update the board as to what that income from those auction items are. Further discussion?
I would just recognize our Department of Public Works crew and the managers over there, the affixed list of surplus items. Nothing is left unturned. They certainly take a look through their entire inventory. Unfortunately, much of this has to do with snow. But aside from that, there's also things from tires and tire rims, anything that they can clean up and auction for surplus additional funds. So I commend them for doing that. It's not an easy task to get everything inventoried.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes. Purchase of a 2019 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD pickup truck.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas by Resolution 18T-37, the Director of Public Works was authorized to purchase one 2018 Chevrolet Silverado cab with back rack, light bar, and rear lift gate from Joe Basil Chevrolet for a total cost of $32,795, and whereas Joe Basil Chevrolet is now offering a 2019 model for the same dollar amount, whereas the total funds of $32,795 for the purchases are already budgeted in the 2018 Facilities Department budget. Therefore, be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to purchase the 2019 model vehicle with back rack, light bar, and rear liftgate attachments for the same price as the previously authorized 2018 vehicle.
So this is just amending a resolution that we had passed earlier in the year to get a newer model vehicle. Seeing no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Quinn?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, this brings us to old business. Any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, is there any new business to come before the board this evening? Again, seeing none, this brings us to our second public participation. If you're in the audience to address the board on any matter, or you can call in at 340-8771, log on at penfield.org, and or if you're Ed Linscoot, you come right to the podium. And Ed?
Item I forgot. We've lined up a number of scout projects, and we're looking for a completion date on the park at 4 Mile Creek on 250. Can you enlighten us when that parking lot is going to be available for use, and we can get some scouts plugged into our schedule up there?
I know that, Ed, that we don't have too much more work to do. The big hitter was the amount of rain that we had got. We got in there, we cut in the driveway, we started to box things out, and we needed to do a little bit of grading around there because I think we've got a rotary project looking to plant some trees in that area. So I think Mr. Tate was looking to tackle that, to get back to that in a couple of weeks because we were doing the Four Corners parking lot this week and next, moving poles, all the electric. We're going to mill and then repave that next week. So hopefully the following week we'll be able to get back on that bar, no monsoons, and then we'll be able to get that turned over and available for use. We'll make sure that we publicize that. I get that in my column as well as we put that on the website.
Thank you.
So hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Anyone else? All right, Ed, thanks again for the presentation of that stick representing the major ice storm that we had. Hopefully we can look at that and not look at another ice storm for many, many years to come. Seeing no further business to come before the board this evening, the May 2nd, 2018 legislative session of the town board stands adjourned at 7:56 p.m. Thank you to PCTV. Thank you to everyone that participated. Have a great evening.